The Enterprise is a big ship, but it doesn't weigh nearly as much as you think it does thanks to its holodeck. If you like that one, I've also got an absolute banger about the saucer section. I'll give you a hint. It has to do with the reason why there are so many fewer coffee stains on the tables in the big round part of the ship. This is a review of the Star Trek The Next Generation episode, The Big Goodbye. If you have not seen this episode and you don't want to know why the fact that he's Cyrus Redblock means they can't do this to him, be warned. Spoilers beyond this point. It's the first proper holodeck episode. In the previous review in this series, I looked at The Practical Joker, the episode of the animated series with a subplot set in the ship's holographic recreation room that presents the formula for a holodeck episode in a simpler, more compressed form. But this one really casts the mold from which almost all subsequent holodeck shows are struck. So let's take a look at what happens in it. The Enterprise is on its way to a meeting with the Harada, an insect-like alien race who are real sticklers about protocol. There are a lot of those, aren't there? The Harada require that the captain of the ship speak their customary greeting in their native language with perfect pronunciation, or they'll, destroy the ship, I guess. Picard is in the ready room with Troy practicing, and it's doing his head in. Troy suggests that he take a break and spend some time relaxing on the holodeck before the big conference with the snooty bug people. So Picard heads down to the holodeck and loads a program based on his favorite 20th century pulp fiction hero, private detective Dixon Hill. Picard walks into Dixon Hill's office and meets the secretary, who recognizes him as Dixon Hill and immediately makes fun of the fact that he has apparently shown up to work in pajamas. Picard's like, oh, the uniform. Yes, totally inappropriate for this time period. I'm from the future where we all work in pajamas. It's a utopia. The secretary tells Picard that there's a dame with nice legs waiting for him in his office. Then she takes off. She's got a hot date with her fella, which I assume means getting fingered in the back row of a movie theater while How Green Is My Valley is playing. Picard steps into his office and meets the dame with the gams, and she's got a problem. Someone is trying to kill me, Mr. Hill. I need you to find out who. It could be anybody. My husband, my stepdaughter, your husband. Excuse me? It's your husband. How do you know? You think Dixon Hill is the only centuries-old crime narrative I'm obsessed with? I've also seen every single episode of Dateline, okay? And trust me, it's your husband. It's always the husband. Or it could be this guy Cyrus Redblock, who is a big scary dude who's looking for a thing. Picard agrees to take the job, and the dame gives him a kiss on the corner of the mouth, hands him $100 as an advance payment, grabs one of his business cards, and leaves. Picard takes a moment to appreciate how immersive the fantasy is. It's like even more realistic than playing Star Trek Bridge Crew on the Oculus Quest. Then he calls for the exit and is about to leave the holodeck when someone raps on his door. Picard says, "Hey, I'm leaving, come back later," and exits. After he goes, this wormy little Peter Lorre impersonator walks in looking for him. "Hello, Mr. Hill? Hello?" Picard saves the program and immediately calls a staff meeting so he can gush about how awesome the holodeck is, sounding like a kid who just got back from his first tour of a studio backlot. They had everything. Buildings and streets and cars. It was incredible. Nobody seems to know what a car is, so Data explains that cars were a mode of transportation that were also seen as signs of social status and played an important role in the teenage mating ritual. Teenage mating ritual? What's that? Something you'll never experience. Picard is still going on and on about the holodeck. Crusher wipes the lipstick off his face from when the dame smooched him and says, "You make it sound so exciting." Picard's like, "The illusion was incredibly convincing. I know that woman who kissed me wasn't real, but my boner sure was. Hey, let's go back to the holodeck. Everyone. Except for you. And you and you and you and you and you. Dr. Crusher, you come along. And I'll get that guy Whalen, the 20th century history nerd, to join us in case we need to sacrifice someone for dramatic purposes. Sound good? Oh, also, let's remember that thing with the Haradans. It's really important for the Federation. The last time someone screwed up the greeting, they didn't speak to us for 20 years. Plus, I guess they have a history of killing people who offend them. Anyway, enough of that. I'll see everybody, except those of you I specifically excluded, on the holodeck. After the staff meeting, Data and Geordi are walking down the hall, and Geordi observes that Dixon Hill is kind of like the 20th century version of Data's favorite, Sherlock Holmes. Data is intrigued, so he goes to the bridge, speed reads every single Dixon Hill story ever published, gets himself a sharp-looking suit, and invites himself along on Picard and Weyland's Dixon Hill adventure. Dr. Crusher will be joining them later. The three of them enter the holodeck and step onto a San Francisco street. They approach a grizzled news vendor, and Picard says he wants to buy a paper, but he doesn't have any money. What about the $100 the dame with the gams gave you, man? Did you lose it? This is the 1940s. That's like 2 mortgage payments. That's like 1,000 comic books. You could probably buy that poor fuck's entire newsstand for that $100, but now it's gone, Jean-Luc. It's gone. And so are your dreams of earning a marginal living selling periodicals from a shack on the sidewalk. I hope you can live with it. I'm not sure I could. Anyway, the old newsie allows Picard to take a paper for free because he's Dixon Hill and they know each other. Picard sees a story about a woman who's been murdered. The story is helpfully accompanied by a photograph, and holy shit, it's the dame with the gams. She's dead. I'd say good thing she paid up front, but you lost the money. Picard seems disturbed by the news. She told me someone was trying to kill her. I should have listened to her. Weyland chimes in like, don't take it so hard, Captain. She's just a page in a book. She's not real. None of this is real. I'm the guy telling you this isn't real. Remember that for later, okay? Just then, a couple of detectives show up and arrest Dixon Hill as a suspect in the murder of the dame with the gams. She had Dixon Hill's business card in her purse when she was killed, see? Which means... Wait, actually, I don't see. She has the calling card of a local business person in her purse when she's found dead. Therefore, that local business person is a suspect in the crime? If she had a grocery store receipt in her pocket, would these cops be raiding the nearest Safeway looking for the murder weapon? I'm starting to think these Dixon Hill novels weren't very well written. The cops run Picard in, and meanwhile, outside the holodeck, the ship is being subjected to a long-range probe by the impatient Haradans. The probe scans the ship and causes the holodeck to begin malfunctioning. Oh, I'm sure that'll be fine, though. It's the holodeck. It creates simulated environments using force fields and light. It's harmless. What could possibly go wrong? The Haradans speak briefly to Riker, demanding that Captain Picard contact them immediately to make the greeting. Riker tells Geordi to go to the holodeck and get Picard. Dr. Crusher, all decked out in her 1940s attire, arrives outside the holodeck. The control panel is blinking on and off, and the doors are opening and closing erratically. Crusher's like, I'm sure this is fine, and goes in. She meets up with Data and Weyland at the police station, who are there waiting for the cops to finish tuning up Picard in the interrogation room. It's the classic good cop, bad cop scenario, with the one mean, scary detective yelling and threatening, and the other nice guy detective, who is apparently an old friend of Dixon Hill's, apologizing and offering to help. Picard still having a great time, smiling and laughing through the interrogation. Like, I've read this book, you're getting it exactly right. If you've read it all before, why were you surprised when you read about this woman's murder in the newspaper? Okay, you don't need to be like that. Outside the holodeck, Geordi arrives to collect the captain and notices that the doors won't open, the controls don't work, and it's impossible to communicate with anyone inside. He calls Riker and fills him in on the situation, and Riker's like, I'll be right there. Wesley pops up and volunteers to help because he's a kiss-ass try-hard apple polisher, and also because his mother's trapped in the holodeck, I guess. So Riker lets him come along too. They remove a panel, and Wesley starts examining the holodeck circuits with a microscope to figure out what the problem is. Geordi warns Riker, this might take a while, but what if they don't have time? The Haradans are waiting! The Haradans! The friendly detective, McNary, tells Picard they're letting him go, but invites him over for supper sometime. The kids would love to see you, Dix, and my wife would love to see your distinctive but handsome face as well. McNary also warns him about Cyrus Redblock, who Dix has apparently gotten involved with somehow. McNary promises to drop by the office later with a bottle of scotch and sends Picard on his way. Picard reunites with the others in the lobby, seems quite taken with Crusher's Maureen O'Hara look, and invites everybody back to his detective office. When they arrive at the office, they find the wormy great value Peter Lorre waiting. He pulls a gun and demands to know where Dixon Hill has hidden the certain object Cyrus Redblock hired him to find. What object? The Maltese Falcon? No. The Letters of Transit? No. The Holy Grail? No. The Ark of the Covenant? No. The Death Star plans? No. Marcellus Wallace's briefcase? No. Rosebud? What is that? Never mind, we don't have time for this. Wayland steps forward and tries out his Cagney impression on the guy doing the Peter Lorre impression. We're all just having fun here. And says, listen here, you weaselly little Joel Cairo wannabe. We don't have what you're looking for, and you're never gonna find it, see? Now let me have that heater. So the Peter Lorre guy lets him have it by shooting him in the gut. Wayland falls, and at first Dr. Crusher applauds his performance, but then they all realize that Wayland's not acting. He's actually been shot. Picard grabs the wormy guy's gun and punches him, and the wormy guy flees, promising that Mr. Redblock will hear about this and he won't be happy. Crusher tends to Wayland, who is certain to die from his wound if she can't get him to sickbay soon. Picard and Data both call for the exit, but there's no response. Then Wormy Guy returns along with Cyrus Redblock himself, and Redblock's like, where's the thing I hired you to get from me? What thing? The knock list? No. Lebowski's rug? No. The blue carbuncle? No. The X5 unit? No, never mind. I'll just look for it myself. But first, get that dead guy out of here. Crusher protests that Wayland isn't dead yet, but Redblock doesn't care. Before things can go much farther, McNary, the friendly detective, shows up with that promised bottle of scotch, and one of Redblock's goons sticks him up and grabs the scotch and his gun. Redblock is getting impatient, and so is Picard, who decides, you know what? To hell with this. They're just fictional characters anyway. Hey, Redblock, Wormy, everybody, I don't have your object because I'm not Dixon Hill. I'm from another world, and you are all just make-pretend people. Wormy Guy doesn't like to hear that. He turns to Redblock and says, please let me kill them, sir. Dr. Crusher says, you've already condemned Wayland to death. Do you want more senseless killing? And Redblock says, I don't believe in senseless killing. I only kill when it's for a purpose. Like when someone has embarrassed me in front of Vanessa. Outside the holodeck, Wesley has found the problem and knows how to fix it, but, Wesley tells Riker, there's a slight problem. If he doesn't perform the fix exactly right, the holodeck program could abort, and everyone inside, including the real people, could vanish. Why is this thing on the ship? Oh, sure, it's useful for training and it's a lot of fun. It can bring your imagination to life, but if the computer crashes while you're in it, you disappear? They didn't think maybe they should fix the potentially lethal design failure before releasing this product to the public? Who built this thing? The great-grandchild of Elon Musk? Anyway, inside the holodeck, Wormy Guy is about to shoot Data when Wesley does his thing and the office briefly transforms into the South Pole during a snowstorm, then back into the office. Then the exit appears and the door opens. Picard's like, see, Redblock? That's the passageway to our world. Let us go so we can help Mr. Wayland while he's still got a few ounces of blood left, and I'll come back with the object you seek. Redblock says, I've got a better idea. I'll go through that door with Wormy Guy here, and together we'll plunder your fantastical world of all its many riches. Redblock and Wormy Guy step out of the holodeck and into the corridor of the Enterprise. Redblock's like, oh boy, this looks expensive. I'll bet an unscrupulous gangster like me will thrive in the cutthroat capitalist society that surely produced whatever all this is. Wait, what's happening? No, I'm evanescing. I'm going under. With Redblock and Wormy Guy out of the way, Crusher and Data rush Wayland to sickbay, while Picard stays behind for a melancholy farewell to McNary the friendly cop. I've got to go talk to some persnickety insectoids, Picard says. Well then, says McNary the friendly cop, I guess this is the big goodbye. I mean, all of this has been. Yeah, but go on. Tell me something, Dix. When you leave, will all this still be here? Will this world still exist? Will my wife and kids be waiting for me at home? Will they? I don't know, man. Probably not. You're a goddamn character in a video game. What do I care? Bye. Picard goes straight to the bridge, hails the Haradans, absolutely nails their ridiculous greeting, and then, with all the pressure now off, they do the classic everybody's happy, let's all smile and laugh about it Star Trek ending, and we're done. The Big Goodbye is the best episode of Star Trek The Next Generation's first season. That's not saying much, because TNG's first season is, for the most part, really, really, really terrible. But even though it might sound like I'm damning it with faint praise, The Big Goodbye is a genuinely good episode. Watching it back now, having seen all of the Holodeck episodes that followed it, several of which I will be reviewing in the coming weeks, it does have some slightly awkward moments. This episode establishes the formula for a holodeck story, but subsequent episodes did refine that formula, smooth it out a bit, and lay down some consistent rules for how the holodeck is supposed to work. In that context, The Big Goodbye plays almost like the pilot episode for holodeck shows. It's got all the important parts, the premise is pretty much there, but it still needs a few tweaks here and there. The choice of a 1940s private detective story as the setting for this first holodeck adventure is a good one. The episode, written by early TNG mainstay Tracy Torme and directed by Joseph Scanlon, who would also direct Skin of Evil, another rare good first season outing, does a good job approximating a film noir aesthetic. The wardrobe, the San Francisco street set, Dick Miller as the old news vendor, Rhonda Aldrich as the secretary, Dixon Hill's office set, they all create a convincing enough pastiche of a Raymond Chandler novel, and the plot is sprinkled with winking references to the Maltese Falcon, from the unnamed item being sought, to the wormy Peter Lorre guy, to Cyrus Redblock, whose name is reminiscent of Sidney Greenstreet, who plays the villain in Maltese Falcon. All of that is fun, but there's more to the episode than just an excuse for a film noir costume party. It's enlightening to see a different side of Picard this early in the series. Season 1 Picard is a stiff, to put it mildly. Watching him actually get excited about the holodeck and enjoy himself in the early portions of the Dixon Hill program not only gives Patrick Stewart an opportunity to add some variety to his performance, it also imparts some depth to Picard as a character. It shows that he's capable of experiencing emotions other than annoyance, impatience, and anger, and suggests that he may even have a personality. The story also continues the simmering sexual tension between Picard and Crusher. There are some really nice moments involving the two of them. Obviously, Picard's smitten reaction to seeing Crusher in her 1940s dress for the first time stands out, but I also love Crusher's momentary annoyance during the staff meeting earlier on, when it seems at first that Picard isn't going to invite her along when he returns to the Dixon Hill program. I think she likes him. Torme's script even does right by the guest stars. Waylon is a hilariously obvious plot sacrifice waiting to happen. Gee, I sure hope nothing goes dangerously wrong in that holodeck, but if it does, I'm sure this guy we've never seen before will be just fine. But Waylon gets a dash of character development. His brief but painful brush with irony, starting out as the guy who reminds Picard that all of this is fake, ending up as the guy shot in the stomach when it's all become too real. And hell, even McNary the friendly cop manages to transcend his status as a stock character in a story within a story by the end, thanks mostly to the earnest performance of Gary Armanak. This poor guy just found out he and his entire world are works of fiction, and he's having a bit of an existential crisis, and Armanak is good enough that I actually kind of feel for him. The stuff that takes place outside the holodeck isn't all that interesting, but it's important because it provides the stakes for what happens inside the holodeck. The cause of the holodeck's malfunction feels a little too easy, really. An alien scans the ship and the holodeck blows a fuse and turns into a murder box. Though, on the other hand, at least it's quick and doesn't require a lengthy and tedious technobabble-laden explanation. In fact, that's another of my favorite moments from the episode, when Wesley is about to launch into such a stream of technobabble, and Riker cuts him off, like, just get to the point. I wish more Star Trek characters would do that. The late, if we accidentally shut down the holodeck, everyone inside will vanish threat feels preposterous even within this already preposterous context, and they never mention that possibility again in subsequent episodes. But here, it works well enough to increase the jeopardy late in the story and to give some semblance of drama to what Wesley is doing outside the holodeck, which basically amounts to staring at a wall through an eyepiece and is not exactly gripping television. Similarly, Picard rattling off the greeting to the Haradans at the end feels like an afterthought, and it's really a shame they couldn't find a way to make Picard's farewell to McNary the ending. But it is what it is, and the jokey bit with the crew on the bridge at the end is one of the better examples of that from TNG, which mostly got away from the everybody laughs ending after the first season. It's fine. Overall, The Big Goodbye is a great first season TNG episode and a very good TNG episode overall. The 1940s stuff looks great, and the actors are all having a good time and putting in some excellent work. It gives Picard's character some much-needed variety. It mimics and pokes fun at film noir and the Maltese Falcon in particular, and it makes creative and mostly dramatically effective use of the concept of the holodeck. TNG and its successors would go on to produce better holodeck episodes in the years to come, but The Big Goodbye is the first, and still one of the best, of this particular subgenre of Star Trek. Watching this episode, it's easy to see why the creators of Star Trek were compelled to return to the holodeck so many times, even if, with quite a few of those times, I wish they hadn't. But hey, we'll get there soon enough. For now, good episode. Those are my thoughts on The Big Goodbye. What do you think of this episode? Please share your thoughts with me in the comments. If you'd like to support this channel, and I sure wish you would, if you can afford it, you can do so by becoming a patron at patreon.com/Steve Shives, becoming a channel member by clicking the join button, or by making a one-time gift by clicking the thanks button, or via PayPal or Venmo. Links are in the description. Please join me next time as this batch of holodeck episode reviews continues with a look at another classic early holodeck show. This time it's an episode from the second season of Star Trek: The Next Generation titled Elementary, Dear Data. See you then. Thanks for watching, and take care, everybody.